Hi guys, let's take a first look at the brand new Logitech GPX2 DEX that just dropped and see how it differs from the standard GPX2. Let's start with the shape, and measurements wise the DEX is exactly the same length, so 125 millimeters, but it kind of feels shorter due to the ergonomic shape that allows me to position my hand more forward on the mouse with a more relaxed claw type of grip. On the GPX I typically grip the mouse with a more aggressive claw and the back of the mouse hits the back part of my palm. But on the DEX, my hand lies there in a more natural fashion. The DEX is also a couple of millimeters slimmer on the center of the sensor, and the curve for your thumb to rest in is extremely comfortable, at least for me. If we compare this to the X-Lite V2 size 2, the main differences you feel are the lack of comfort grooves on the main buttons and the front part being more round and more flat if we look it at the front. The DEX kinda slants downwards just like on the regular Superlight, but with the Pulsar it's more like a curve upwards. If we then compare it against the Dave Hyperspeed or the Death Adder V3 Hyperspeed, it is a larger mouse that feels more filling on your hand, but you also notice mostly the front flaring on the Death Adder shape and the lack of support on the index finger knuckle, mainly due to the added curvature on the DEX and also the much higher profile. The regular Death Adder then just feels a lot longer, even though they are pretty much the same length, and yeah, the Death Adder just lacks the roundness on the hump, and the front flare is just not as good for my grip as the one on the DEX. Overall, I found the shape to be very nice round ergo shape that is slightly on the higher side of things compared to these other ergos that I have on my desk, with a really nice feeling front right corner to hook my ring finger. Depending on the tilt of your grip, the side buttons may feel too much higher up, but my thumb pretty much sits at the lower part of the backside button, so personally I don't have a problem with these, other than that they are still the same pretty mushy GPX side buttons that are slightly larger in size. The main button implementation has been also improved from the GPX with this DEX, and now they don't have that very high-pitched sound that at least I have on my GPX2. They also feel somewhat lighter to actuate and are a very nice optical switch implementation in my opinion. The switches are still the same Lightforce opticals, so Omron opticals with the Logitech a twist on them that allow you to swap between the hybrid mode and the optical only mode, which I have mine set to always, since it offers better click latency. The scroll wheel is not changed from the GPX2 and so far it feels nice, but I expect it to loosen up a bit slightly after some wear and tear like the one on the GPX2 did. The coating change is another thing I really like, and now it feels more rubberized than previously, but not as rubberized like on Razer's newest releases. However, just for safety measures I bought this in black since my GPX2 has yellowed quite a bit over time. I don't know if my camera spots it, but it's kinda off-white in the spots I rest my fingers and I can't really get it white anymore. But yeah, so I can't really tell if the new white coating on the DEX will have that issue. With the more grippy coating and this nicely sculpted shape, the mouse actually feels lighter than it actually is, and this mouse comes in right around 58 grams with the puck in place, and the weight balancing feels kind of perfect to me. Then we have the upgraded Hero 2 sensor that is just slightly beefed up in terms of maximum DPI, maximum tracking speed and all that stuff, which I can't really tell if it makes a real world difference. But what I noticed that the polling stability issues that were and still kinda are on the GPX2, even with the newest firmware on higher polling rates, are now gone on the DEX. Based on some very thorough A and B testing with mouse tester, with varying amounts of background processes and games open, the difference on the graphs with 4K polling is very apparent. The GPX2 still has a lot of outliers with 4K polling, which the GPX2 DEX doesn't seem to have at all. With 8K polling, things start to look very similar between these two, and the GPX2 seems to have very nice graphs at 8K polling as well. I didn't really bother testing lower polling rates, which I will do for my full review, with also some latency measurements, but things look very good so far. I have to say though that these instabilities in GPX2 polling graphs haven't made any difference in gaming use as far as I can tell, so this is just some very detailed technical nitpicking in the end, and yeah, you maybe as a consumer shouldn't be worried about that at all. The skates are the last topic which I will touch upon, and they're no additive, very scratchy stock skates that lack thickness and rounding and take a pretty long time to break in. With all these new skate offerings coming to the market that have foam behind the actual glide pod to reduce the sound, I just recently realized that Logitech has been doing this for quite some time now, and if you ever have removed the stock skates from Logitech mice, you know that there is that black foam layer behind them. I think it's pretty much the same stuff that's on the back of the Jade Airs, Obsidian Airs, etc. So yeah, they were early on that aspect, I guess, but why can't they just put more thickness to the skates still baffles me. And yeah, another thing that pisses me off is that once again they changed the shape of the skates, and you will once again need to get some new ones since the GPX or GPX2 skates don't fit this mouse. But to wrap this up, in conclusion, yeah, my initial impressions of this mouse are very positive other than these skates, and I will do the full review after I've had more time with this mouse. The shape feels very nice, coding feels very good, switches feel less fatiguing than on the GPX2, and the performance is still top tier. Build quality wise, from these first few days, I haven't noticed any creaking happening on the mouse, but that is something that I can talk about more when I have used this for at least 2 weeks, because at around that point usually mice start to show some kind of creaking or flexing. The pricing follows the trend that has been going on for some time, and it is $159 at launch. But the good thing here is that these Logitech mice have been going very occasionally for a lot cheaper on Amazon, for example. So if you are interested, I would keep a close eye on Amazon for some deals, especially around the end of this year. But I think that is all for this one. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one. Goodbye.